Okay, it is 7:01, and the makeup of our commission looks a little bit different this evening. Out of an abundance of caution, our mayor has decided to teleconference in this evening. So he is on the phone right here. He's not here in person, but he will be listening and participating in the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to our mayor, Chris Villa, right now.
Thank you, John, and thank you, everyone. Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear him in the back?
All right.
Yes.
All right, and I'll try to talk loud. I appreciate it. As the vice mayor said, I'm feeling a little under the weather today, and so out of an abundance of caution and respect for everyone there, I thought it'd be best if I stayed away. So our governor gave us the authority, and our commission approved remote access during this time. And although I wish I was there, I just think this is best. So at this time, I'll turn the meeting over to our Vice Mayor, John Penny, and you can go ahead and crack the gavel and call the roll.
Okay, thank you, sir. Scott, if you go ahead and call the roll, please.
Commissioner Penny,
Here.
Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Commissioner Danio,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Villa.
Here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Sorry, there's a little delay. He's on mute, so we don't hear the background noise, so it may take a couple seconds for him to respond. So at this time, I will turn it over to Commissioner Roy Johnson, who will lead us in our invocation. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and this is the time to turn off any electronic devices that make any kind of noise.
Okay, well, I will ask God tonight, and God, I ask you to please watch over us. We're going through so much crisis in our country and all over the world, and I ask you to watch over us like no one else can but you. And no matter what people think and what the future is going to be, you already know, you've already been there. And you know what's best for us, and you're going to take care of us and watch over us. And I pray that you do, and I thank you so very, very much for all you do for us. And I ask you to give us wisdom, knowledge, ability, strength, and energy to deal with every situation, handle everything as it comes, and always do what's in your will. And we ask in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our risen Savior. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so at this time, we have a presentation of our Positivity Award. This commission several years ago made a decision to recognize outstanding achievements in our community by citizens or business owners or homeowners and bring them to the commission, give them a proclamation signed by the mayor. Unfortunately, this one's not signed by the mayor, so he'll sign it tomorrow. And then have a yard sign to put out in front of the business just to proclaim to all the people that drive by what a great thing that's going on in our community. It's called the Positivity Award, and the recipients tonight are Julie and Reiner Martins. If you'd please stand. If you want to come to the podium up here, guys. And for those of you that don't know Julie and Reiner, you will get to know them really shortly here. They're involved. It's their vision to bring to us Pictona, which is a large pickleball facility right across the street in Hollyland Park. We had a baseball field that hadn't been used in several years. The city did everything but kidnap people and make them come play baseball there. We couldn't do it. The Martins came to the city a couple years ago with a vision, and their vision is now a reality. And we thank you for the public-private partnership that we've put together. It's a blessing to our city and just a shining example of what good people can do together. So we really thank you for that. And with that, I have the Positivity Award here. It says the Holly Hill Positivity Award. Thank you for making our community positively awesome. Julie and Reiner Martins, July 14th, 2020. And we'll make sure that the mayor signs this and brings it over to you as soon as he feels better. We also have the yard sign that we hopefully can put out in front of the clubhouse and let everyone see. Normally, we come down, we shake, we hug, we give you the sign and take pictures, but I think we're probably gonna, you guys hug, we'll give you a virtual hug from up here.
We can probably still line the commissioners up on the top. And
Okay.
have Julie and Reiner out front, and we can still get a socially distant, reasonably good photo.
All right, you guys want to come up here and we'll, guys might want to hold that in front of you. Did you want to add anything, Mr. Mayor?
No, just thank you so much to the Rayner, to you both, and also I want to say that maybe we'll do a digital signature. That way, I don't have to touch the proclamation just in case. So, but thank you so much for everything you do for us and being so positive in our community. We really, really appreciate you, and thank you to Vice Mayor Penny, Vice Mayor Penny, John Penny, for choosing you both for this Positivity Award. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good deal. Julie was sticking her tongue out.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
If you want to say anything on the microphone for the record, or if you want to go to dinner.
I just want to say it's been a great trip, and it's not over yet, but as we came in the door, I was thinking how we came before the commission almost, 2 years ago? And it was a lot different. I guess there was maybe a little more trepidation at that point, and now it's a reality, and it's been great working with Joe, with John, the whole group of you, and we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a really positive experience for us, so getting a Positivity Award means a great deal to us. Not only all of you here, but the staff that we've worked with over the past couple of years have been just tremendous and supportive. We think that Pictona gives us the opportunity to do one of the things that is our mission, and that is to help people improve their health and fitness through physical activity and good nutrition. And that's really what Pictona is about. Pictona is more than pickleball. It's a community center. And we're going to have a lot of activities there that I think all of us will really come to enjoy. And if you've been over there and you just listen to the chatter a little bit as people are playing, it's a happy place. And it's going to continue to make that kind of contribution to Holly Hill. Julie and I are really proud. We really think we're citizens of Holly Hill. We have a second home over in Ormond Beach, but we spend most of our time here now. So,
You're awake over here. You sleep over there.
right. Anyway, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
this, and we look forward to continuing a really great relationship with you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Must be dinner.
Next on our agenda is the presentation of the Purple Heart City Proclamation, and we are going to put that off until the next meeting.
So far, it's delayed to the next meeting, yeah.
Okay. And now we're on to item 4, which is public comments. This is the time for the audience to address the commission on anything not on our regular agenda. You just have to state your name, please, ma'am, name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Dawn Boland. I live at 1716 Center Avenue in Holly Hill. I've been there for 30 years. The reason I'm here tonight is that upon review of looking at for permits online for various properties throughout the city, I've come to realize that not all permits are listed online. Looking at them, they go back to 2017. Certain ones are selectively listed in the area as far as the city of Holly Hill. Recently, I had sent emails to the commission, the mayor, with regards to a property, 1717 Birmingham, where they erected a 6-foot fence on 2.5 foot of property that I purchased in 1998. I have a survey of the property that was done from 1998 that included the chain link fence surrounding my property. And with regards to that, I believe that the property was mine, rightfully. On my title policy, on Schedule B, there was covenants and restrictions listed that were created in 1965. These covenants and restrictions was basically for an access easement, drainage easement, and the parties had the right to go ahead and continue these covenants and restrictions for a 10-year period. They basically lapsed, and if you'd like to see these, Mr. Simpson.
He's not going to get involved in this, so we just pass it to the rest of the commission.
Okay, well, with regards to the covenants and restrictions, they are part of the title policy. And regarding the chain link fence, when the surveyor AWOD came out to survey the property, he was aware that the 2.5 foot was rightfully on my property. It relates in the covenants and restrictions as far as the property is concerned. The reason I'm here tonight is there's a combination of reasons. The emails that were submitted were provided pictures. My property is basically a water basin with regards to the heavy rains, and so over the course of the years, all the water that comes from the golf course runs down into my yard. And with regards to that, it goes midway into the yard because there was no drainage. Because they moved this 2.5 foot, the fence 2.5 foot, it's going to proceed, the water's going to come closer to my home. And it has nothing to do with the drainage in the city of Holly Hill. It has to do with this fence. Because they removed this tree debris, my big tree in the back, I can no longer cut my power lines. The power lines that are, the fence was put right under these power lines. And with regards to it, now there's no way for me to cut the tree. I have contacted FPL after 21 years of living on this property. Been in the city for 21 years. I lived on this property since 1998. The property boundary line was mine. The county had no record. If the city of Holly Hill is dealing with their own permitting and their own rules, the official records book and page with regards to covenants and restrictions that are listed on the property should have an impact. The agreement itself states that there's no mutual agreement between the parties that those covenants and restrictions were still in place. Not only that, the Florida statute in October of 2018 was written, section 712.12 of the Florida statutes goes ahead and indicates that the property actually is mine. In the event that there was no mutual understandings with regards to these covenants and restrictions that were recorded on the public records, the statute went ahead and said by October 2019, the property was mine. These individuals at the Birmingham property went ahead and they moved in December of 2019 after the Florida statute 712.12. The permit, unfortunate reality, was issued. On March 30th, the individual put a 4x4, wound the chain link fence, and says, "I'm taking your property." And I was like, "You're kidding. What do you
You'll
mean
have
taking this property?"
You'll have to wrap it up,
Runs from the
ma'am.
Golf course down to Kansas. It's a 5-foot easement that was created for access to the power poles, and it was in 1965 for drainage. It was access for the utility companies with regards to the phones. Landlines are extinct right now. Cable guy was out there today.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you, ma'am.
Okay.
Have you met with city staff about your issue?
I did, and I wound up going ahead and I emailed Mr. Villa, I emailed Brian Walker, I submitted photos. I've contacted with regards to it was misunderstood with regards to the pictures and the emails that I submitted. And because of the COVID No one came out there to look at this easement.
So I would recommend that you make a follow-up phone call with Mr. Walker
No, we're-
or Mr. Forte.
Staff is through with this.
Okay,
Mr. Walker has been through this a number of times. I've been through it a number of times. The property owner she's talking about has gotten a survey. If Ms. Bowen wants to get another survey, she can certainly do that. She is not at this time. The staff has responded to this numerous times. We're not taking any further action.
so this is a civil issue between,
At this point.
This is a civil matter now.
Okay.
This is not a city matter. This is a civil matter. I don't need to get the city attorney involved. This is a civil
Okay.
matter between property owners. You know, they can argue the records that are in the county. It's got nothing to do with the city.
okay, so,
At this point, the boundary of acquiescence, and as far as the McDonald v. Givens and the.
I'm gonna have to stop you, ma'am.
One more.
I'm gonna have to stop you, I'm sorry.
There's
Your time is up.
construction taking place. Mr. Penny, hold on.
No, your time is up, I'm sorry, ma'am. We've had an answer from our staff.
Right
and
now,
if
the
you-
1717
You're gonna have to
Birmingham
sit down.
property owners are building,
Ma'am, you're gonna have to sit down, or I'm gonna have to call someone to just make you
but
sit
they're
down.
building. Can I get a meeting? Can I get this on the agenda for a special meeting for July
No, ma'am.
23rd?
No, ma'am.
There's
We-
nothing for the commission to take action on. This is a
They are
civil
building
matter.
without a permit.
This is a civil matter now.
They're building without a permit is a code enforcement matter.
I don't know if they have a permit or not.
They do not have a permit.
Mr. Walker's nodding his head that they have a permit.
Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to sit down, please.
Is there any way?
I'm gonna have to
put it
ask
on
you to
the
sit
agenda?
down, please, ma'am.
Scott,
This is not a matter for the city commission to take up. It's not a legislative matter. It's an operational
what I
matter.
was going to ask is if, in the event that we can get it on the special meeting.
It's not gonna be a
building
special,
Without a permit, that we could go ahead and have them, because they're building without a permit. they can-
ma'am, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna turn
Rectify
the
the
microphone off
fence
and I'm gonna
issue.
stop you. You have to sit down.
Without a suit to the city.
Ma'am, you have to sit down, please.
A suit to the city would be the next step, and I didn't want to do that.
Okay, you have to stop talking, please, or you have to leave. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the commission that, any item that's not on the regular agenda this evening? You have to have your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Christina Bolin, 1716 Center Avenue, Holly Hill. Would like to go ahead and get a special meeting for an agenda for July 23rd pertaining to a
I'm gonna tell you one thing. This is your time to address us. That doesn't mean we need to respond back to you. So you have 5 minutes to address
and
us.
I completely respect that.
Thank you.
There's a lot of situations that have been taking place at the back property, 1717 Birmingham. In regards to the fence and the property, it was covered under the covenants and restrictions with the original title work and property plat, whatever have you. They currently are constructing something, and there is no permit of record. I actually checked the permits yesterday, and there were only 4 listed for the actual property, one of which was canceled regarding a roof, which, just to let you know, they did in fact put on the roof. But apparently that wasn't inspected. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But we would like to go ahead and address all the situations in a nice, kind manner, and it would be lovely if the commission would go ahead and work with us and speak with us regarding the situations at hand. I'm not sure. Is that possible to have a special meeting, or
No,
pardon?
no,
No? May I ask why?
it's not a legislative matter.
Well, it has nothing to do with legislation.
It's a civil matter.
That goes to the city of Holly Hill, and I didn't want to go ahead and file suit against the city.
Ma'am, your time is up. You have to be quiet, please.
Well, in regards to the fence, I mean, there was an error. The city shouldn't have issued the permit to begin with, because it was, that property, like, was part of 1716 Center Avenue. It wasn't part of 1717 Birmingham, and it hasn't been in 21 plus years since prior to the purchase. So, I mean, how can you go about rectifying the illegitimate permit that was issued to begin with? That's my question.
My suggestion would be to go to civil court and file a suit. That is the only remedy to this. Go to the courts, file a civil suit, and go through the legal system in that manner. That is the only resolution that you have,
Okay, and
or possibility of.
And as for the other construction that's currently taking place, who needs to find out about that?
You can let our code enforcement know and they can look into it,
All right.
okay? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, Mayor.
It's okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission on anything not on a regular agenda this evening? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments and move to item 5, which is approval of the minutes of the June 23rd workshop with Fountainhead and June 23rd regular city commission meeting and the CRA meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Carries unanimously, Mr. Mayor. Voted aye. We'll now move to item 6, which is our consent agenda. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Which item would you like to speak about?
I would like to speak about the resolution R31 with regards to the EPA's involvement related to the reclaimed water that.
Okay, you have to restate your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Dawn Boland, 1716 Center Avenue in Holly Hill. And upon review of the agreement with regards to what the city is entering into related to this resolution, the EPA involvement lets me know that the reclaiming of water to the residents and the citizens of Holly Hill is not in anybody's best interest. I took a look at the city of Ormond where they're going ahead and indicating meters. How can the city of Holly Hill enter into an agreement, a 5 or 10 year agreement, to give the residents of Holly Hill reclaimed water as their drinking water?
It's not drinking.
That's not what it's about, ma'am.
If it's going ahead and being repercolated.
It's
into
being
the
used for
system on
irrigation for the
LPGA.
city of Ormond Beach.
We're sending it
It's
to
not being
Ormond so they
used
can use it for irrigation.
The agreement with regards to the city that you all are entering into is mentioning the EPA involvement, making sure that the water is suitable. And so, in my understanding with regards to the water being reclaimed and going to the LPGA facility in order, and then it's going to go ahead, they're replacing the Birmingham and Kansas water mains and pumping it out again. 4 to 6 times a year, we get notices and our eyes burn and the taste of the water is disturbing. And the chlorine and the chemicals that are infiltrated into the water system has been a problem for years. Ever since they went up stopping the chemicals from Palm Coast, just because the guy's name is on the website doesn't mean he knows what he's doing with the chemicals.
Ma'am, I think what you're
And looking at
discussing
the-
has
and
nothing to
looking
do
at
with the
the
item
agreement,
before us.
Looking at the agreement that the city plans on entering into, the interlocal agreement for the transfer of this water that Mead and Hunt, I could not locate the lines with regards to this situation, but with the EPA being involved, that tells me that the city is entering into a 5 or 10 year agreement to deal with reclaiming water that we are going to be drinking as citizens. And
You're misinformed.
then why would the project wind up going back to the 453 LPG Boulevard in order to percolate it back through the system that comes out of our taps? Being misinformed versus not having the information from Mead with regards to the pipelines. I did not have that information because it was not on the lines, but if the city of Ormond Beach is made to be making meters, this water is going to be reclaimed to go to the LPGA facility and has to make sure it approves and meets EPA guidelines. Looking at the EPA guidelines, they don't even do water checks every 6 years now. I am very concerned about the reclaimed water coming through our water system. And I do not believe that you all should get into this agreement, or even, I couldn't fathom the idea that this is even going to take place. What are they thinking? With our water systems in the Holly Hill, our eyes burn on a constant basis. The chemicals are not up to par We all know that those that live in the city of Holly Hill should be very, very concerned about what has taken place with our water source. That's what I got to say. Do you have any answers for me?
When you sit
Stating
down.
that it's
When you
not
sit
happening.
down. When you sit down, we'll address your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address anything on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I will close audience participation on the consent agenda. Mr. Forte, would you like to address that, or would you like to have Mr. Corey come forward?
Well, Mr. Simpson was a party to the writing of the agreement, so he can give you any details. Mr. Curry can give you any information with regards to the technicality of it. But what we're doing is we're taking the city's reclaimed processed wastewater and we're sending it to Ormond Beach through a meter so that we can regulate or understand how much water is going there, and they're using it to distribute for irrigation only. It has nothing to do with potable water. It has nothing to do with coming back to the city. The EPA is involved is because the reclaimed water becomes a tertiary product, which means it's got to meet a certain standard for EPA to even be spread out onto the lawn.
And that reduces the amount of water that's discharged into the Halifax
It
River.
reduces the amount of reclaimed water or wastewater discharge into the Halifax River. That's correct.
You can't respond, I'm sorry. Anyone else have any?
Antoine, you have anything you want to add?
Currently, all
Yes.
Antoine Coury,
Thank you.
Public Works. Currently, all the water that is wastewater that's being treated in the wastewater plant has to meet certain requirements for the EPA. That water is either going to irrigate currently the golf course that pulls about 500,000 gallons a day. If not, if our tanks are full, we ended up discharging it into the Halifax River. Currently, we have to test that water almost 3 to 4 times a week to make sure that the quality is there before it gets discharged. The City of Ormond asked us if we have access of that water, which we do currently. We will supply them with that reclaimed, we call it reclaimed water. It's not for drinking, it's not for any other use than irrigation. The city has a meter just to track it. There's no requirement for the City of Ormond to pay the city for any of that water use.
Anyone have any questions for Antoine? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any commissioner that would like to pull any item from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, can we pull number 6, please?
Okay, we'll pull number 6 for discussion, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 5.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we'll address item 6. Mr. Mayor, your concerns?
Thank you, John. Will you put the mic in front of thank you. Is Stella Gurney still here?
Yes.
Okay, can you call her to the lectern,
You just did.
please? All right, thank you. Stella, I wanted to pull this. I talked to Mr. Forte about it. I want to understand the process that we will go through to be able to notify people when they are late, and then when their water is going to be shut off. And then also, maybe before you get into that, what is our current process? Because I know we're doing a different process right now because of COVID, and your employees are doing a lot of phone calls right now. Can you touch upon that and just explain what this notification system, what that process is going to look like once it's implemented?
Sure. Stella Gurney, Finance Director. The process that we're proposing is through the company that does our utility bill printing. So they get a file from us to print the utility bills that has, and they will get a file for this notification that will have the customer's phone number or email address if they've set up for e-bill. And then we will give them the script, and they will call the customer when the bill is past due, and depending on the script that we write, so it may say, Mrs. Smith, this is a friendly reminder from the city of Holly Hill. Your water bill is currently due for $125, and please pay by certain date to avoid disconnection. Now, that's not the actual script. You know, we'll come up with it, and the city manager will approve it before we have them do it. So that company will then transmit, you know, these automated phone calls, and it will also give them instructions on how they can pay online with our current online system. It'll give them the phone number or website that they can contact and pay. And that's how the proposed system will work. Prior to COVID, there was no additional phone call or notification. It was just on the bill that it was past due by such and such a date, and if you didn't pay, then it would go through a cutoff process and be cut off. Since COVID has occurred, and we had, you know, several months that the people were not able to pay, the staff over there has really stepped up to the plate, and they've been doing a lot of manual phone calls and spent a lot of time calling each person when we went back to doing the shutoffs this past month. So this will certainly cut down on all that staff time and calling, and it will automate the system, and I think it will be good for the customer too, because, you know, sometimes you get busy and you just forget, oh, I should have paid my water bill. Well, this will be a friendly reminder to get it paid. And relatively speaking, it's not real expensive compared to the other options available.
Right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Gurney. This is something we really, really were in need of, I believe, especially talking to people that have been late. And I'll just share that recently, a month or so ago, I was late a day, and so I kind of found out the process. And you know, another thing I think we need to get out there is when we're educating people on how they can pay online, is to be able to set up automatic payments, because a lot of people complain about the credit card fee. It's one of the biggest responses that I get back from people is they say, you know, how is the city charging this extra fee? And in reality, and maybe you can touch on this, but if I say it correctly, then that's fine, that fee just goes directly to the credit card company processing the transaction fee. But if you set up automatic payment, you are not charged that fee every month. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I think it's great for especially the amount of money, not to exceed $5,000, and really appreciate that. The last question I have on it is, how are they going to opt in? Are the current customers already going to be opted in through their phone number, or do they all have to opt in one by one?
The current customers will already use the information that we have on file, either phone number, or if they're set up for e-billing, their email, they will send them an email, or a text is the other option that I forgot to mention. This company will also kick back to us if we have customers that kick back that don't have a valid phone number, and then our staff can work on getting those phone numbers updated, and certainly we'll put, we have in the past, since I've been here, we'll put messages on the bills trying to get people to call in and update their phone numbers and emails with us.
I think.
Great, thank you so much.
Do they have to opt in for the text message?
I don't think so. I'll double check on it.
I know there's some antique plans out there that charge people for text messages, and I think you have to approve.
I know the email, they have to opt in, to be email billed. I'll follow up and check on that.
Commissioner Curry?
That was kind of my question. In any form, do they have to fill out a form, or kind of like what the code read, to say, yes, I want to be notified about this, or are we just
No.
automatically signing everybody up that we have information for?
We're automatically signing everybody
Okay.
up that we have the information on their
Good.
account for.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? So, Mr. Mayor, this might be a rare opportunity for you to make a motion to approve item 6.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 6 on the consent agenda item.
I'll second.
Any discussion needed? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. We'll now move to the regular agenda, which is the request for lien reduction at 1202 Ridgewood Avenue, Maple Leaf Gardens. Joe?
Okay, so this is let me pull it up again. This is a lien reduction request for the Maple Leaf Gardens. We've been working on this property since at least 2013 by record, and probably for some time prior to that. They've been cited numerous times, and we've had a difficult time trying to get them into compliance. Their recently deceased president of the HOA was rather unresponsive to the city's request for compliance. So what we had done in the past is we were citing each of the individual unit owners for each of the different violations that surrounded the units. Well, we took a different approach about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and we started citing the violations in the common area, and we cited the HOA itself. So once we did that, we got a little bit better attention from them. The president passed away, a new president took over the HOA and started being more aggressive in the cleanup. So there were a number of violations that were on the property that over time were coming into compliance. They originally requested the lien reduction back in February, and with the onset of COVID and some other things that came up, I kind of pushed it off. If it took them 7 years to come into compliance, I figured 7 months isn't going to make a difference. So eventually, they called a couple more times to get this on the agenda. I had code enforcement go out again and verify that the items that were in violation were in fact still in compliance, and they were. The amount of the lien totaled about $155,000, $156,200. And then after we took into account the actual costs and 10% of the lien amount, we were able to agree to reduce the lien to $17,250.85. The attorney representing the property stated that that his client agrees to that negotiated amount, and that we're recommending that the commission go ahead and approve that amount to be paid no later than 5 p.m. on August 14th, 2020.
Any questions for staff at this time? Anyone from the audience like to say anything about this item? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation and entertain a motion for approval.
I will make a motion for approval as read by the city manager.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say thank you to code enforcement for staying on top of this. I know it's not necessarily about that, but that's what developed from this. And I like the fact that we're continuing to pursue code enforcement and cleaning up the city, and I like it.
Thank you. Anything else? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It carries unanimously. We'll now move to the public hearing, ordinance 2020-03028, second reading.
Ordinance number 2020-0-3028 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving the Seventh Amendment to Marina Grand redevelopment, residential-based mixed-use plan unit development, MPUD development agreement, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Commission. This is a requested major amendment to the Marina Grand PD. It will be the 7th major amendment, and it is to approve temporary signage that is shown in Exhibit A of your agenda packet. The building signage location does reflect some changes that were made as a result of the discussion that was held at the June 9th City Commission meeting.
Scott, can you pull that picture up? It's in the agenda as an attachment.
And at this point, the applicant is requesting that the plan shown in Exhibit A be approved for 3 years from the date of the approval of this amendment, or until such time that the owners no longer own or control 5 units of the total residential units, whichever occurs sooner. The only part of the comprehensive plan that addresses signage is Policy 1.2.8, and it basically just says that such regulations, and talking about signage regulations, shall ensure that new and replacement signs shall adhere to the community standard for aesthetics and minimize confusion that results from visual disarray while allowing reasonable identification and promotion of businesses. So if the City Commission feels that the requested 7th Amendment is in harmony with this comprehensive plan policy, then the Commission can approve it.
Any questions for staff at this time? Mr. Merrill, you want to come up?
For the record, Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood, Daytona Beach. Not a lot to add. You guys, what you see here is the request that you guys made to take the sign off the side of the building and put it on top, which is what we did. So I hope everybody's happy with that. We did when we heard, we weren't at the last meeting when we continued it to get some more time to get this done. We heard what you said about removing the signs, and we got the one that was there, and we removed that right away. So hopefully we're doing everything you guys asked us, and this should be good to go. Questions for me?
My only concern, Mr. Merrill, was there were 2 concerns I heard from the residents. They don't want to see it. They're not going to see it. They don't want to hear it. And I don't know, I don't think in the last 3 years there were any complaints about noise, but that was one concern in the past. So we just need to make sure that that thing is
Yeah, I think that the other sign was right near some folks' balconies. That was the nature of the objection from what they could see, and they didn't like looking at it. But I didn't hear anything about any complaints where they actually heard any wind noise.
I didn't hear any complaints. I know that was a concern for
They came
theirs.
back and with the upgraded sign that has now been removed, they bolted it all in with lag bolts and everything. So I think it was pretty tight ship.
Okay.
I think this is the same type of construction they'll be doing on these new signs.
I guess, Mr. Simpson, my only concern would be, would the city have any recourse? Let's say it just sounds like a sailboat flapping in the wind out there and you hear that halyard hitting the pole. Psh, psh, psh.
We still have that same language.
Yeah,
in
the
there
same
that we put
language is in
in
there.
Okay.
Amendment 6 about if there's unresolved complaints and issues
Okay.
like that. So the same language is still there.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Oh, wait, hold on, Rob.
I don't know if it's for Rob or maybe Scott. I couldn't hear what Scott just said, but in the reading through the packet, I did see that the same language was in there about noise.
That's what
Is that
Scott
what-
said. Yeah, that's exactly what Scott said.
So it's still in there.
Yes.
But so what I'm not understanding is the sign on top, is that not going to be painted like we talked about? Is that going to be a separate sign like it was attached to the building?
Same type of sign attached to the building and secured the same way so that it does not create any more disturbance than the other one did. That was exactly the same. But
Did you
closer
hear
to
that,
people.
Chris?
So, hey, Chris.
Kinda. It's hard to hear.
Chris, at the end of the day, I'm sorry with the mask on. It's hard. This is Rob. You know, the language that we put in there, we think was pretty bulletproof, 17 ways to Sunday, because we debated that at great length at the original approval. And we tried to find, any way somebody could come in and complain and it would be fully, vetted and enforced. And all that's still in there, as Scott said. So this one's going to look good. It's going to be quiet. And if it's not, we'll hear about it and we'll have to deal with it based on those considerations that are in the agreement.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Merrill. That answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to comment on this issue? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue. I'd like to say thank you very much for my time here, that I may talk, and this future excellent city of Holly Hill. And I would like to say thank you to the buyers of the remaining units at Marina Grande, that they had faith in our city to be able to continue with the development. I do have a question, though, if Mr. Scott could pull up Exhibit B. And this is about, it may be mute now because this is about the Amendment, Sixth Amendment that has already passed, but there's flags. And could you go to the third one down with the 3 flags up front?
Talking about the flags on the dock?
Yeah, no, the flags in front on Riverside. And one more. Again. Again. And this one, you can turn it 90 degrees if you can. If you turn it 90 degrees, you'll see right now what's on top is on the left, is actually on the south side. It says proposed. Now this again may be moot, but I'm curious as far as the parking lot there is a parking lot from the park, which is state-owned.
Not there. That sign is actually,
It's on the easement. Actually, the sign is on the easement
it's on their
for the
property.
county road,
No.
4011, yes.
Where that arrow is,
Yep.
it's not there. It's slightly above where it says P. That's right there. That's about where that sign is.
Well, there is a real estate sign that's actually on the easement area.
Is that for units for sale?
Yeah.
We're talking about the permanent signage here. Temporary real estate signs fall under a different section.
That's part of my question.
Okay.
As far
Did
as
I answer it?
how is it, no, it's for the Marina Grande. It's how is it that there's a sign on the County Road 4011 easement
I didn't think there.
that I wouldn't think that should be there. And that's just my concern. If, you can put it on your own property, but not on somebody else's property. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I think we have someone else that wants to talk about this a little bit. Don't talk past the sale.
This is Walter Morgan, broker for Remax Signature. I'm not exactly sure the location of the sign that's on the south side there, so we can look and make sure that it's, when we asked the sign company to install it, we obviously wanted it installed on our property. So if it needs to be moved a couple feet or something like that, that's not a problem. That sign is actually, it's a temporary sign that's there for leasing of the commercial space. And that it kind of is at the end corner of that. So if it's in the wrong spot, we can have somebody move it over a couple feet, whatever it takes.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address this issue this evening? Seeing none, we'll close audience participation and entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion needed? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Mayor, didn't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. I said aye. I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Walter?
Okay, now we're on to communications from city manager and staff. So we'll go to Mr. Simpson
No
first.
comment. It didn't take too long.
Mr. Forte's a little tied up. I'm not sure which commissioner is supposed to go first, but we'll do it by whoever did the invocation. So, Mr. Johnson.
I was first last time, I think, but I'll still go first. And I don't have a lot to say, except I think we're still moving ahead, even though we're in a bad situation right now. It seems like the virus is picking up. It seems like we're having more cases of it, but a lot more people are being isolated and wearing masks. and more people that I've heard of and know have it that I never heard of before. So I think it's coming back. Thank you. But as best I can figure by everything I hear, is not so bad. Most people that have it, they just seem like they have mild symptoms and it's gone. You know, it's like a mild case of the flu or something. So just be careful. But I've also heard it said that if everyone would wear a mask, it would completely eliminate the virus altogether.
Yeah.
If everyone would. And I think we're moving ahead with our projects. We're going still, and I mean, by the grace of God, things haven't been shut down around here, and we really appreciate it. And I think it's a good thing that everybody's complying, everyone come in wearing a mask and all that good. I think we're going to come out of it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Forte, anything to add?
I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you're supposed to go first, and you're not here, so I forgot about you. So we'll give you the floor.
Hey, you're in the mayor's seat today, John, so you could have easily went first. But you always used to say when you were mayor that the best part of being mayor is that you get to talk first and last during comments. So I just want to, I especially want to thank Scott Gutakis, our IT director, and Mr. Forte for working with me today to be able to make this work out. And this is very unusual. I want to reiterate again that I'm just feeling under the weather, and I just thought out of abundance of caution and respect for you all that I should stay away tonight. I have not tested positive for COVID or anything like that. Still waiting on the results, but I just thought that would be best tonight. So I appreciate you all appeasing me tonight. I really appreciate it. And hey, it felt good to be able to make a motion once again like I was a commissioner. So a couple things I just want to say, two things. The first one is I want to praise staff and thank them for the paving of Flomish that we approved tonight. It was on the consent agenda, so none of us got to talk about it, but that is one of the biggest complaints that I get about roads is Flomish especially, and a little bit of Daytona there. So just want to praise staff for that and thank them for bringing that vision to life of this commission. So thank you. And the last thing I want to comment on is the Ormond Water, our interlocal agreement that we passed tonight. I want to also praise staff on this, especially Joe Forte, for the fact that he's been working on this for many years. And I know there was a little bit tonight about what exactly that reclaimed water was for tonight. But this is a great deal for the city of Holly Hill because we are dumping that into the river. And now when we have excess, we're able to give it to Ormond Beach. And by the way, we're not paying for any of that, any of the connections, Ormond Beach. This is a great contract, well written. Thank you, Scott, because it's well written to spell out how Ormond Beach has to pay for all of those things. So we're very protected in it, and this isn't going to potable water once again. So I believe that that's a good thing. So I just wanted to make those quick comments, and thank you all for appeasing me and letting me speak like this. So thanks.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Curry.
I really don't have anything this evening, sir. I just appreciate everybody that came out, and I appreciate all staff's hard work, and that's about all.
Duck, there must be a lightning bolt coming. Mr. Forte, you had something?
I did send an email out today, and I have them on my desk. The city is a distribution site for these. Somebody must have gone in and took.
I took one.
I appreciate you opening the Wonder Bread from the bottom, but there is an actual.
Oh.
So I'll deal with the gaping hole that you put in my bag.
With the gaping hole in my mouth.
My kids certainly wouldn't have gotten away with that. But we are distributing these in the police department lobby beginning tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're giving at least 2 per person, and if you have multiple people, we're not going to be too stingy on them. We want to make sure people have the masks if they would like them, so we have them.
Great.
We have 10,000 of these.
Wow.
10,000 masks. So.
10,000 boxes or 10,000?
No, 10,000 masks.
And that's from the CARES Act from the county?
That's correct.
Thank you. Mr. Danio.
Yeah.
Mr. Danio has a sore tooth, so he's not going to say anything.
That's why you didn't say anything earlier.
All right, so just a couple things I had written down. I got some sad news 2 days ago. David Heald was one of our citizens, prominent citizen in town. He passed away recently, so he'll be missed. He owned one of the units in my office complex. So he's been retired. He and his wife have been down here, I don't know, about 15 years from Maine. So he'll be missed. Very active church member here locally, and he will be missed. Pictona officially opens tomorrow. They'll be operating from 7:30 in the morning till 9 p.m. The restaurant, I don't think, will be opening till maybe Friday, possibly the beginning of next week. But go over and check it out. They're going to transition into that thing slowly, and it's going to be an amazing accomplishment for our city. If you drive past there now, there's upwards of 100 people there every morning playing, and they're not even really open yet. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that I see Mr. Tony Casada out here in our audience tonight, and want to welcome him. And it's his company, his employees are a shining example of when adversity hits you, you take a turn to the left or a turn to the right, and you do something a little bit different. His company is Bob's Space Racers. They manufacture arcade games throughout the world and distribute them throughout the world. And when all the theme parks in the world close, some of your orders dry up and your cash flow slows down. And when you're employing a bunch of people over there, you got to figure out something to do. So they came up with an idea of hand sanitizers. And just want to applaud you and your company for doing that, Tony. And my hand sanitizer, my customized hand sanitizer with the Allstate logo, it has the Allstate hands, getting hand sanitizer dumped in it. So it was delivered to my office today. So thank you, Tony, and thank you for your business being in our city. And I'll defer to you one more time, Mr. Mayor, give you the last word if you want it. Otherwise, we're going to close the meeting out.
Hey, let me say one more thing.
Oh, hold on. Mr. Johnson wants something.
I forgot that Pastor Gabriel Barger wanted me to pass on the information about how much help he's got from the city commissioner and the city manager lately for projects he's been doing. And he really praises the city for it. And I'm talking about Pastor Gabriel Barger.
Great.
My friend.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
All right.
Good meeting.
This meeting will be adjourned. 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 Will be adjourned.